What's good, everybody? It's your boy Demon in here. Today, we're actually about to look at, or actually hear, another strange horror story. And this one is called "This Is Why I Hate Easter." Yeah, I had to do an Easter one since Easter just passed, and I wasn't able to actually do one on Easter. So I figured I'd go ahead and get one popping. So without further ado, let's get it. Let's go.
Welcome and good night. Happy Easter to all of you who are celebrating this holiday. To some, this is a happy day full of fun, gifts, and family time. For others, it is a day full of dreadful memories. Which type of day is it for you? And with that said,
my Easter was pretty good.
let's get to the stories. All phobias are irrational, but the one I suffered from throughout my entire childhood and young adulthood took the biscuit. You're scared of rabbits? People always scoffed. The polite ones tried to look understanding, but I could see suppressed laughter in their eyes. I know how ridiculous it sounds, but those big-eared fluffballs everyone else seems to find so adorable really creep me out.
I'm sorry.
I stayed well clear of pet shops, and the run-up to Easter was as scary as Halloween must be for people scared of witches. I can pinpoint the date started, too. You see, for many years, I was convinced that the Easter Bunny ate my best friend. It was Easter Sunday, 1996. I was 8. My family lived in a small, traditional village where nothing much happened. Before that day, it had probably never been in the national news at all. Every year, Mr. Anderson, the old man who lived in the manor house, opened up his grounds for the local kids to have an Easter egg hunt. I went along with my best friend since nursery, Emily. We had this sort of intense relationship that could only form in childhood. When we met new people, we'd tell them that we were sisters, and everyone believed us at first. Our parents took us to the hunt. That year was particularly well attended, and by the time we arrived, just 10 minutes after the event started, most of the obvious places had been raided already. The grounds were huge, with several acres covered with trees. Our parents kept calmly reminding us to stay close where they could see us, but they seemed pretty engrossed in their own conversations. They didn't tell us off when we strayed slightly, so we decided to go deeper into the trees and find some eggs that had been left behind by other kids. It was a good choice, at least as far as the egg hunt went. We found several small, brightly colored chocolate eggs hidden behind trees and underneath piles of leaves, and added them to our haul in a tiny basket we'd been given. "Look," Emily said excitedly, pointing up at a tree. "There's a massive one, up there." She was right. Above us, nested on a higher branch, was an egg larger than the others. It even included a mug. "I'll go for it," I said, feeling proud of the look of relief that filled my friend's face. I'd always been the better climber and, I fancied, the braver one. If the truth be known, I think I just wanted to look cool in front of her. With difficulty and disregard for safety that makes me cringe in hindsight, I slowly started climbing the tree. I barely managed to reach the egg, but eventually was able to grab it and began climbing down. I reached the ground, giddy with victory, and found myself alone. At first, I thought Emily was playing a trick on me, but after searching behind every tree around there and calling her name a couple of times to no avail, I started to get scared. I ran back to my parents, fully expecting to see her there. "Emily's gone," I told my mother. I still remember the look of concern on her face before she composed herself. I'm sure she's just gone to the toilet or something, love. What were you doing in those trees anyways? She asked me. The rest of the afternoon was a bit of a blur to me, but I do remember the creeping sense of dread as the minutes ticked by. I remember all the adults running around, shouting Emily's name. I remember the police arriving. I also remember being scared of them asking me where I'd went with her and what I'd seen in my final minutes with her. I remember Emily's parents sobbing and hugging one another. This last image will stay with me until the day I die. It was nearly dark by the time we left. I was crying the entire time. My father held me close and whispered, "It's fine, darling. She'll be back soon. She's just gone on an adventure with the Easter Bunny." I recalled my mother snapping something in his ear about giving her false hope, but I chose to believe him. The alternative was too horrifying to imagine. My family kept me sheltered from most of what followed, but I've placed it together by looking it up. Emily's disappearance was a national story for a few days, but as the weeks and months went by, nobody was found and no new leads ever came up. She slowly slipped away from the public's consciousness. Logically, I understood that Easter, and especially a fictional egg-delivering bunny, had nothing to do with Emily's kidnapping. But the emotional part of my brain couldn't fathom that, and the two remained linked. Despite the therapy that my parents got me, I had nightmares about the Easter Bunny coming for me and my loved ones for years to follow. I still get them to this day, occasionally. I never had or wanted an Easter egg after that event. Years went by, and I would love to say that I moved on. To some extent, I had to, but at school, I was an oddity, a curiosity because of my connection to a semi-famous tragedy. I found it hard to make friends, even into adulthood. I never quite trusted that my pals would stay around, that they wouldn't be taken from me at the shortest notice. It made relationships quite hard, to say the least. I tried to bury myself in academics and, later, work. I was on my lunch hour at the office one day last year when my mother rang. I answered, always a bit nervous when she rang me at work. Had something happened to a family member? I thought to myself and picked up. "I wanted to catch you before the news broke," she said. "They found Emily's body at the manor house." I swallowed, tears stinging my eyes. "Oh? That's not all, darling. Well, you know Mr. Anderson died last week?" I hadn't heard, but I made a noise in the affirmative. "They found her inside his house. When they were clearing out his things, she was in his cellar. And sweetie, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it wasn't a little girl's body they found. She only died about a year ago, they suspect. They found her shackled to a wall. The sick bastard had been keeping her there all along." I dropped my phone and burst into long, suppressed tears. I'm not afraid of rabbits anymore, but I'm more terrified of humans than ever.
What? My thoughts on this. One, the parents should have been watching them a little bit closer instead of being all much engaged in their conversation. I give that part their fault. However, I don't care who that person is, nor do I care how long I knew you. I don't trust nobody around because of my child. Unless you're a family member, and even then, I barely trust you then. Because in order for that, if you have to actually know me in order for me to even leave you around my child, for one. But for this little girl to be missing since they were 6, and when they find her, she died a year after adulthood or whatever. The girl she probably was maybe like 27 years old, and she died the year before, chained up in a basement of an old Ford house. Yeah, that dude would die before he would die before anything else. Like you gotta be out of your rapping mind. You gotta be. Damn the Easter Bunny. I'm coming after you. But for them to find her in the basement, no man, and he just not dying, which means that she must have got fed up and fought back, and they both died at the same time. For them both to die in the same year. That's the only way I can see it happening. Yo, but that was a good story. I can't lie. That was a real good story. Shocking ending, but a good story. Because I was expecting some crazy rabbit or something to come out of nowhere or something like that. But that was a good story. But anyway, I'm gonna end it right here. Big ups to all my new subscribers. Welcome to the D Money X. So shouts out to y'all. If you haven't hit that notification button, hit that bell below. Be part of the notification chain gang, and keep your comments coming, keep your requests coming. I'm gonna keep putting them out there for you. And for right now, I'm gonna end it. And again, hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time I see you, when I see you, holla at your boy. Peace.